goal twice in an organized pace line, and this is something we're going to practice every week. But we used to, when Rich was riding, running the Saturday rides, we would get out on the dam, and almost every week we would practice pace lining, which is something we haven't been doing as a group and is sorely needed. So Rich is going to give the talk tonight. We're going to put it on video so we have it. And then we're going to
That's a warning.
And then we're going to practice, and the first 2 laps are just going to be practicing what Rich is talking about and not trying to get ahead of ourselves. And then after the second lap, it's game on. So,
well, thanks for having me out. Unfortunately, I moved out to the Valley 2 years ago, and that has driven me out of LA, and I'm moving to Boulder, Colorado next week. I just can't. I hate that valley. I love the San Gabriel Valley. I try to come back as often as I can to ride. I'm also a former triathlon coach, sold my company Endurance Nation 2 years ago. So this is my first official triathlon coaching anything at all for almost 2 years. Back in the day, we had a pretty well organized group riding culture in the club. Okay, group riding meaning comfortable riding close to each other, pace lining, transitioning, being safe, etc. The reason why I wanted to create that when I started the club was so that not a very good cyclist like Alan could have an opportunity to ride with good cyclists like me.
For thousands of miles.
For thousands of miles on the back of my wheel. Meaning
thousands.
Meaning what's unfortunate about triathlon is a non-drafting sport. Therefore, I have to always ride by myself, which means triathlon clubs are clubs in the sense that they meet for a ride in a parking lot, but then once the ride starts, everyone's doing their own thing, okay? And what you miss out on is an opportunity for more experienced cyclists to teach less experienced cyclists, okay? So I would show up, I would do training camps on Ironman courses, and I'd have very experienced Ironman athletes who've been training for 5-10 years. They lacked very basic bike handling skills because they hadn't had an opportunity to ride with more experienced riders in a group, okay? So it sounds like Linda is probably gonna build you guys up over a number of different bricks. So let's start with just the very most basic components of riding together in a group. I like to think of it as you've got the people in front, you've got a group of maybe like 5 or 6 or 8 guys who end up doing like most of the work, kind of like the engine on a train, and then you've got everyone else that's kind of in the back, okay? So let's talk about what the actions are for each group. If you're at the front of a group, your job is to ride steady. This is not your opportunity to show everyone how big and strong and what a badass you are, okay? Your job is to keep in mind, my job is to drive this train steady, no surges, in a safe manner, steady pacing. That means that what you don't do in this group, roadies ride a little bit different, but if the road goes up, what you don't do is hammer and drill it, because that just spreads out the pace line, okay? Inside that group of, let's say, 6 or 8 guys who end up being the engine of the group, they'll be doing pace line, what's called pace lining. I don't think that a ride like this right now, this is like the first time that a lot of people have heard this. We're not going to really talk about like formal pace lining, okay? Maybe Alan at some point can talk about how that works, how that transitions. So then that brings us to the rest of the group. The rest of the group, your job, number 1, is to ride safe, but 2 is to honor the work of the people in the front who are pulling you along, okay? What that means, most important, is pay attention. Don't let gaps create, okay? If a gap does open up, you close that gap at a sane manner, nice and smooth. When I say gap, Alan, come over here. That is good. This is not so good. Alan starts getting nervous. The people behind Alan are like, Alan, close that gap. He surges and the gap just builds backwards, okay? This is good. This is not good. We can all agree this is not good, right? This is wheels are crossed. okay? And the way that Alan is going to get his spacing off of me, he's not going to be looking at my wheel, he'll be looking at my jersey. And maybe he's offset a little bit to the side so that he can always be looking forward, looking for hazards, all right? I'm very aware that Alan is watching what I'm doing, so I'm not making any sudden movements. I'm not coasting, okay? Coasting causes a visual break in the group where people think, oh, this guy's coasting, he's braking, okay? So try not to coast. If you have to brake, it's nice and smooth. If a gap opens up, you close that gap nice and steady, okay? Actions at when I say your job is to pay attention and honor the work that's being done for you, typically what that means is, so Alan, come up. So Alan and I are in the group and we're talking, you know, how's your old lady, how's, you know.
Why are you moving Colorado?
Okay, but what we're not doing is we're not going like this. We're not talking like this. We're not going like you can have conversations and look straight ahead, okay? Also, what Alan and I are not doing is, what I'm not doing is as we're riding side by side, I start half wheeling it. Because then Alan picks up the pace and I pick up the pace, and next thing you know, it's who's got the biggest whatever, okay? So your job in the front is to look, drive the train steady, don't look at each other, and don't half wheel. And I do that all. I'm like, bro, why are you half wheeling me? We're out here for just a nice, pleasurable ride. Why got to be like that? All right, so when guys in the front, when you're working and when you're hearing lots of chit chat in the back, you're kind of like, gaps are opening up, people aren't paying attention, something bad's about to happen. Okay, so any questions about what I've covered so far? There's lots of little like cultural cues about how to ride in groups and do this and don't do that, and I'm looking at who hasn't shaved their legs because that's an indication that you haven't really committed to the sport of cycling, right? I haven't trained or raced in like 2.5 years, and I still shave my legs. So, all right, anything else? Michelle always never has shaved legs.
Never shaved my legs.
And
Never. Unless I had a
all right,
broken ankle.
what's the plan now?
So then if we're going to